All right, here we go. Let's settle the madness. This is it. March Madness starts technically tomorrow because the first four games, UMBC versus Howard, which is tomorrow at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesday, so tomorrow again, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to be Texas and NC State. And then Wednesday at 6:40, we have PVAMU versus Lehigh at 6:40, and then Miami of Ohio versus SMU, which is 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. What's going on, you guys? Me, Jason, aka Titans Daily. Welcome back to another video. We got the March Madness bracket. Came out yesterday around 6:30. Let's get right into it. Duke against Siena. I don't think Siena wins this game. I got Duke. I think everyone in the country outside of Siena has Duke. It's matchup info. You can do all the stuff you want. Ohio State versus TCU. This is going to be a tough game to predict, but I'm going to take the Horned Frogs. Here in this East Division, there's East, South. Obviously, you got West. I can scooch this over a little bit. You got West. You got Midwest. And then, yeah. So we'll continue on with the East predictions. St. John's in Northern Iowa. I'm going to take St. John's just because I can. Kansas and Cal Baptist. I got Kansas. Louisville and South Florida. I'm going to take South Florida just because they won the ACC or the AAC, the American Athletic Conference Championship yesterday. They got a pretty good team, and it's USF. Michigan State and North Dakota State. This is going to be a tough game to pick, but I'm going to take Tom Izzo and Michigan State. UCLA and UCF. I'm going to take UCLA. They're getting their star player back from injury. UConn and Furman. I'm going to go with UConn. All right, now we got Florida against PVAMU versus Lehigh. I'm going to take Florida just because it's Florida. And, they are the defending national champs. I'm going to see what PVAMU is. Prairie View, A&M, by the way. They beat Alabama A&M and then Southern U this past Saturday. So they face Lehigh Wednesday, 6:40. Clemson and Iowa. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes in that one. Vanderbilt versus McNeese State. McNeese State was really good last year. I think they made it to the Sweet 16, right? I mean, it's against a really good Vanderbilt team that almost won the SEC championship game. They lost to Arkansas. This one's going to... I'll come back to that one. Nebraska against Troy. I'm going to take Nebraska. I'm going to go Vandy just for the safe pick. North Carolina against VCU. That's where Mo Alley Cox went to college, actually, before he went to the NFL as a tight end. He's a Colts tight end, but I just thought I should throw that out there because Mo Alley Cox is a tight end for the Colts. Or was a tight end for the Colts. I think he still might be a tight end for the Colts. So I'm going to pick North Carolina. Let's see. Is Mo Alley Cox still on the Colts? He is still on the Colts, and he went to VCU as a basketball player. Yeah, he's 6'5", 267 pounds. Wow. Illinois versus Penn. I'm going to take Illinois. St. Mary's against Texas A&M. SEC basketball is something, but it's not as good as St. Mary's. I'm going to take St. Mary's. Houston against Idaho. I'm going to take the Cougars over the Vandals. All right. Vandals. All right, here we go. We got the West region. Let's make sure everything's going well. Everything is going well. I do not want tickets right now. It looks good, but I'm good. It's currently snowing right now, if you didn't know. Snow in March, right? Um, Arizona against Long Island. I'm going to take Arizona. Probably the best team in the country. Um, yeah. Villanova versus Utah State. I'm going to take the Nova Nation. Wisconsin against High Point. This one's going to be very interesting. I think High Point has the team to do it. They almost beat Purdue last year. I'm going to take High Point just because it's a really good upset. And Wisconsin basketball is very interesting because they did win a national championship. So did Louisville, but we'll get to Louisville later. Wait, did we already get through Louisville? Yeah, I have them knocked out in the first round against South Florida, the Bulls. Got Arkansas going on against Hawaii. I'm taking Arkansas. BYU, Gonzaga. Yeah, that sounds about right. I just don't know if I trust NC State to beat BYU though. Is this gonna be like a football thing? I'm gonna take BYU over whoever wins this game on Tuesday night. Gonzaga versus Kennesaw State. I'm taking the Zags. Miami versus Missouri. Missouri is a good basketball team, but Miami's really decent. I'm gonna take Missouri. I'm gonna take Missouri. Purdue versus Queens of North Carolina. I'm gonna take Purdue. Michigan against UMBC versus Howard. I'm taking Michigan. I know they lost to Purdue, but I'm taking Michigan. St. Louis versus Georgia. I'm taking St. Louis. I just don't trust this Georgia basketball team for whatever reason. Texas Tech versus Akron. I'm taking Texas Tech. I'm taking Alabama over Hofstra. I'm taking the risk and taking Tennessee over Miami of Ohio / SMU. I'm taking Virginia over Wright State. I'm taking Kentucky over Santa Clara. I'm taking Iowa State over Tennessee State. All right, second round. Let's move our bracket over. Or you know what? I'm going to fix this so where you can see the whole thing. So hold on 1 second. All right, that should be a little bit better. If it's not, let me know. It might be better, it might be worse, but this is the whole bracket so far. All right, let's move on to the second round. Duke over TCU. Honestly, I have St. John's over Kansas. I got Michigan State over South Florida. And I got UConn over UCLA, barely. This is going to be a close game right here. Florida versus Iowa. I'm going to take Florida. And then I got Vandy over Nebraska. North Carolina versus Illinois. I got North Carolina. And I got Houston against North Carolina into the Sweet 16. Arizona versus Villanova. I'm going to take Arizona. High Point versus Arkansas. I'm taking Arkansas. BYU versus Gonzaga. I got Gonzaga. Purdue versus Missouri. I got Purdue. Michigan versus St. Louis. I got Michigan. Alabama versus Texas Tech. I got Texas Tech. I got Virginia over Tennessee, which is kind of sad. Tennessee got like a really interesting draw right here, but it's kind of understandable because they did lose their second SEC tournament game. And you know what? I'm taking Kentucky over Iowa State. Yeah. Do I trust Mark Pope? Is that what his name is? Is it Mark Pope? Or is it somebody else? Yeah, Mark Pope. Yeah, I trust Mark Pope, right? No, I can't. I'm going Iowa State. All right. Now for my Elite 8, I got Duke, Michigan State over UConn. Sorry, Dan Hurley. I got Vanderbilt over Florida. Do I pick Florida and go against my gut? I'm going to take Florida for now. North Carolina and Houston. I don't know why I'm feeling Houston. I'm feeling Houston. But then again, this matchup's going to be tough to predict right here. Man, Arizona versus Arkansas. This is where Arizona barely wins against Arkansas. And then they go on to play against Gonzaga. Gonzaga beats Purdue 68-62. Braden Smith and Fletcher Warrior couldn't get it done. They get out in the Sweet 16 against Gonzaga. All right, Michigan against Texas Tech. This is where Michigan starts to fold and collapse. I'm going to take Texas Tech over Michigan. Virginia and Iowa State. I'm taking Virginia. Or do I? Yeah, I'm taking Virginia. Duke against Michigan State. I got Duke in my Final Four. Houston versus Vanderbilt. I don't see Vandy getting past the Elite Eight, so I'm taking Houston. Arizona versus Gonzaga and Texas Tech versus Virginia. I'm taking Texas Tech over Virginia, and I'm taking Arizona over Gonzaga. This is my Final Four. I don't know how we're going to get here, but we'll get there. We got in the national championship game, Duke is taking on, drum roll, Arizona. Wow, what a surprise. Isn't that like 38 million other brackets? Yes. And then who I have for the national championship, Arizona or Duke? I got Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona wins this game. I'm going to say it's a really defensive game. 62-56. Not 563. That would have been crazy. So the bracket name is going to be called Daily Picks. Yeah. We should fill out a women's one too. Back to my bracket. Yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one I'm going to complete. We're going to go to the women's bracket too, wherever that is. Here we go. Division 1. Let's play the women's field. Let's do it. Brackets are open till the 20th. First games are, Friday? Yeah, Friday the 20th is Friday. Anyways, okay. Let's play our bracket. Nope, let's not play a video. Let's see, bracket. Let's create our women's bracket. Here we go, the women's bracket. Yes, I agree to the terms. We'll call this one. Let's make this a niche name. Titans New Unis. Save. Yes, sir. All right, let's do it. UConn versus UTSA. I'm going to take UConn. Iowa State versus Syracuse. I'm going to take the Cyclones. Maryland versus Murray State. Now, this might be a trap, right? It's got to be. I'm going to take North Carolina over Western Illinois. Notre Dame over Fairfield. Ohio State over Howard. I'm going to take Maryland. I'm going to take Colorado over Illinois. I'm going to take Vandy over High Point. Sacramento. 4 instead of... Okay. South Carolina over Samford or Southern. Clemson or USC. I'm taking USC. Michigan State over Colorado State. Oklahoma over Idaho. I feel like South Dakota State is really cold at basketball. Women's basketball, to be specific. It's just Washington sounds like the more enticing pick because they're the higher seed. TCU versus UC San Diego. I'm going to take UC San Diego. Maybe. Or I'm going to go TCU. University of Virginia or ASU over Georgia. FDU or Iowa. I'm taking Iowa. UCLA versus Cal Baptist. I'm taking UCLA. Princeton over Oklahoma State. Gonzaga or Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss. Green Bay or Minnesota. Minnesota. Baylor or Nebraska or Richmond. I'm taking Baylor. Duke over Charleston. Villanova over Texas Tech. LSU or Jacksonville. We're going to take LSU. Texas over Missouri State or Stephen F. Austin. Oregon over Virginia Tech. James Madison over Kentucky. West Virginia over Miami of Ohio. Alabama over Rhode Island. Louisville over Vermont. I'm going to take Tennessee over NC State. Just because. And we got Michigan. Go back up to the top to Fort Worth, Texas. Texas and California. Hey-o. I'm going to take UConn over Iowa State. Or do I take Iowa State? I'm going to take Iowa State. Because this is a legit women's bracket. Maryland over North Carolina, yeah. Notre Dame or Ohio State. That's gonna be like a coin toss. I have to find a coin. Vanderbilt. I'm gonna take South Carolina. I trust Don Staley. Michigan State or Oklahoma. I'm taking Michigan State. Washington or TCU. I'm taking the Huskies. Iowa or Virginia. I'm gonna take Iowa. UCLA. I'm gonna take Ole Miss over Minnesota. I'm gonna take Baylor over Duke. LSU over Villanova. Texas over Oregon. West Virginia over James Madison. Alabama over Louisville. Michigan over Tennessee. All right, we're down to the Sweet 16. We got Maryland over Iowa State. This one, I'm going to go get a coin real quick. I'll be right back. We have found the coin of choice. We got a U.S. certified penny. This is from 2018. All right. Lincoln's head is Notre Dame. The shield is Ohio State. Okay. So tails is Ohio State, Notre Dame's heads. And we got tails. So tails is Ohio State. Tails is Ohio State. Okay. We got the Ohio State Buckeyes versus Vanderbilt. I'm going to take Ohio State. South Carolina versus Michigan State. That's another one we're going to do with the coin toss. Washington versus Iowa. I'm taking Iowa. UCLA versus Ole Miss. Taking the Bruins. Baylor versus LSU. I'm taking LSU. Texas or West Virginia. I'm taking Texas. Alabama versus Michigan. I'm taking Michigan. Okay. We're almost at the Elite Eight. Same rules apply. Heads is South Carolina. Tails is Michigan State. So, in the air, we got tails. So, Michigan State goes on to the Elite Eight. Okay. Maryland versus Ohio State. I'm going to take Maryland. I trust them a lot more than Ohio State. Not in football. UCLA versus LSU. I'm going to take LSU. Texas, Michigan. I'm taking Texas. Michigan State versus Iowa. I'm going to take Iowa. All right. Maryland versus Iowa in a Big Ten matchup. I'm going to call this one in the air. I'm going to say Iowa. And I messed it up. What is it? It is Iowa. That is tails. And then LSU versus Texas in an SEC showdown in the Final Four. In the air. I don't know what. I didn't even call this one because the SEC just is so biased. This one is heads. So LSU. LSU versus Iowa. This is going to be an interesting game. And then whoever wins the championship. I'm going to go gut feeling. I'm going to say Iowa. Just because they always have had a really good women's basketball team. I'm going to say this game 64-61. Finish the bracket. Titans New Unis has officially been submitted, and I have Iowa winning it all. But yeah. Brackets lock in 3 days, 20 hours, and 55 minutes for the women's. Titans New Unis. That's where we're at right now. I'll also show you guys the new Titans uniforms here in just a second. But, yeah, I'll show you the men's too. If you didn't get to see that, the daily picks is the one. So right here. Yeah, I got Duke, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, and ultimately I have Arizona winning the whole national championship. 62-56, beating Duke. Yeah. I could have just an upset only bracket, but that's fine. This is fine. I think everything looks good. Anyways, let's get back to the Titans new uniforms, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on the Titans new uniforms, and I'll show you guys right after this. If you missed it, last Thursday night, I want to say, the 12th, the night of the 12th, the Titans unleashed new uniforms that looks like the Tennessee Oilers because it's commemorating the 30 years since the move from Houston, Texas to Nashville, Tennessee. Well, not exactly to Nashville, but Memphis. And then a brief little history lesson. The Titans have owned these uniforms ever since Bud Adams took over in 1960. And since the Titans were the Oilers back then, a lot of people in Houston like to say that they own it because it was their team. It literally just moved right from under them. But 97, it was official, the Titans. There was actually a fan contest between the Titans, the Tornadoes, the Tennessee. What I pulled up an article about the Titans name change, and let me tell you guys what that was back in 1996. Yeah, so the voters approved for a new funding for a new stadium, which would later become Adelphia Coliseum, LP Field, now Nissan Stadium, and now they're building new Nissan Stadium right next to the old Nissan Stadium. So yeah, for a name, let me tell you the names that popped up. Obviously the Oilers, the Tennessee Oilers, the Tennessee Tornadoes, the Tennessee Titans, the Tennessee Pioneers, or the Tennessee Twisters. But they call it the Titans because they're the Athens of the South, because that's Nashville's nickname at the time. Instead of, country music, now it's just country music. I like the stripes that explains the detailed history of a 6-string guitar, one that you can just and I like these jerseys a lot. The face mask that comes with them, I'll show you guys the little history thing in just a second. So let me pull that up real quick. I'll give you guys a link in the description to this website. Of course, it's TennesseeTitans.com. And this is basically the detailed history of it, the stripe, the 6-string stripe, yep, the nameplates, etc., the accents of blue. You know, it's awesome. It really is. And here's like the whole handcrafted logo. If you guys are enjoying this, hit the like button down below. I appreciate all of your support. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload new videos like this. But yeah, this is yeah, the Titans, man. Look at that white face mask. It's perfect. I don't think it's not perfect, but it's a really good rebrand. There's Chimmery DK, Gunhelm, Cam Ward, you know, Titans, man. They're on something. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.